Manchester United and their fans are basking in the glory of defeating Liverpool 4-3 in the FA Cup quarterfinals. Now, this is a small victory for Manchester United, but in the grander scheme of things, they are preventing Jurgen Klopp from winning the quadruple that he was so storied to win by the end of this season. They are relatively ensuring that Liverpool are not going to make most of the headlines at the end of the season. And even if it's just a small victory, it is something that Manchester United fans can look at as something that they have been able to do in recent past. Now, I do remember back in Jose Mourinho's reign at Manchester United, they were also able to prevent Manchester City from winning the trophy at the Etihad after they came from behind to beat them 3-2 in what was another thrilling game. Eventually, they did lose out to Manchester City in the title in the next game after inexplicably losing to West Brom. But one thing about Manchester United is that they love to spoil the parade when they have the opportunity to. And why shouldn't they? The two teams in Manchester City and Liverpool have caused them untold pain in the last 10 years. And more recently, in the last couple of years, we've seen them lose 6-3 to Manchester City. We've seen Liverpool hand out drubbings, and I mean drubbings of unbelievable proportions, in 7-0 victories at Anfield, a 5-0 thumping at Old Trafford. And so Manchester United are going to bask in this, even if it's just a small victory, because they might not win the FA Cup. But one thing that they were able to do is to prevent Jurgen Klopp from having a swan song in which he was able to take every single trophy that was available to him this season. What's up, guys? It's your boy Izzy. And if you're new to the channel, please consider hitting that like and the subscribe button to let YouTube and everybody else know that you're enjoying this content. Now, this game was littered with everything. I mean, a 4-3 scoreline tells you exactly what you need to know. This was an interesting game from the first minute all the way to the end. But one of the most important things that I was able to see from this Manchester United squad is a certain unity, a goal that had put them together in trying to prevent Liverpool from winning. Now, I'm not sure if that was one of Ten Hag's speaking points. I mean, I'm pretty sure it's in the back of all Manchester United players' heads that they wanted, at least for the fan base, to make sure that Liverpool were not going to proceed to the next round, even if it was just for their own pride. This is a team that has given them shellackings from beyond anything that Manchester United fans could ever have thought of. I talked about their 7-0 drubbing earlier, and their 5-0 and the 4-0 also at Anfield, and the fact that Jurgen Klopp has annihilated them whenever he's had the opportunity to. Pep Guardiola has not been any merciful to them either. And so this is a small victory in the path of what Manchester United fans would like to see. But one of the best things about this game was that it was engineered not only by seasoned professionals, but it was engineered by their youth. When you look at what Amad Diallo was able to do in the 120th minute, it was something just out of a football dream. You know, every player who comes through the academy of any football club would want to go ahead and give them the winner against one of your most heated, most hated rivals in Premier League football. And at the same time, you look at what Kobbie Mainoo was able to do in the midfield. And this guy, a lot of superlatives are going to be used to describe him, but he definitely deserved them. There was a certain shimmy that he did, and I can't remember the minute or who the opponent was that he was able to dribble past. But I do remember him dribbling past about 2 or 3 Liverpool players with consummate ease. And the beauty in which this boy is able to take on players who are much more seasoned he is absolutely incredible. This man is going to have a very huge future for England if he continues in this trajectory. And it's also another thing that should be spoken of Manchester United is that in their youth talent, they're always able to bring up somebody who will always go ahead and become a major star for them in the future. Now, Rashford might not be that guy because he's had a lot of false dawns. And over the years, we've seen him give a lot of promise to what Manchester United fans want to see on the field. But whether it's one thing or the other, inconsistency as far as his performances or more recently his off-field antics, it's been hard for him to reprise that role of the light that Manchester United fans had seen him to be about 7 or 8 years ago when he first scored that double in the Europa League and then eventually scoring a double against my baby's Arsenal. But To speak to what Manchester United were able to do in this game, they had to break down a lot of mental barriers. They took the lead from Scott McTominay's near post finish, and that at that point was a good reward for them because they had started the game pretty brightly, but they were hit by a sucker punch when Liverpool were able to take the lead after a very quick goal. First off, Liverpool did attack, and they had a goal disallowed for offside by Elliott, and then a little bit later on, they were able to take the lead, and by the time Mohamed Salah had put them 2-1 up, Manchester United did not know what hit them. Those two goals came within minutes of each other, and it was right before halftime, and so Manchester United fans could have started fearing for the worst. After all, Liverpool has caused them untold pain and drama over the last couple of years. And the game ebbed on. Manchester United tried their best, but they just couldn't break down this Liverpool team that still had a sprinkling of the youngsters in there. And despite the fact that Konate was missing in this game and Van Dijk was working with Kwanzaa, they were doing a very good job at the back. And so by the time the game got to the 80th minute, it looked as though it was going to be another story, enough for Jurgen Klopp to take Mohamed Salah off. Now, a lot of people feel as though he took him off because he wanted to prepare him for the run-in, because the Premier League title is looking as though it is going to be one of the toughest titles to win in the recent memory of the Premier League. But beyond that, I think that Mohamed Salah and quite possibly Jurgen Klopp had thought that the job was going to be done. And by the time we get to the 87th minute, the people who were being brought on were Maguire and Anthony. And we all know Anthony has not had the best of seasons. And he, I believe, had not scored or assisted any time recently for Manchester United. And so when he was the one who managed to get them level, it showed a certain level of maturity in his play with how he was able to control the ball. He was able to swivel and put the ball beyond Kelleher's reach. And at that point, Manchester United were just happy to be part of this game. They had played very well, and I thought that the game was supposed to be 2-2 by the time it was 2-2. Eventually, Rashford had a gilt-edged opportunity to put them 3-2 up in about the 93rd minute. And whether it was his composure or whether he had seen his name in the lights already, he spurned the chance. And Manchester United were now going into extra time against a Liverpool side who we know are always able to ring the changes either side of any type of halftime or extra time. Liverpool are just always able to go a gear ahead. And it so happened because eventually Elliott managed to put them 3-2 up. Elliott has a knack of scoring a lot of deflected goals, but as the saying goes, if you want to win the lottery, you got to punch the ticket. And so he managed to do so with a shot that was directed at goal, but it was deflected past Onana, who wasn't having the worst of games, as a lot of people had said. And Manchester United at this point were now unfortunately 3-2 down, and it was well into extra time. And for a second there, it looked as though Manchester United could fold again. But the spirit that was in the squad in that day and in that match did not let them do that. And eventually they were able to tie the game thanks to Rashford, who was warranted the goal. He had played very well, and it was now 3-3. And at this point, anybody could have feared that it was going to go to penalties, and nobody likes anything that goes to penalties unless you are neutral, so you can sit back and watch either side bite and chew their nails off. Manchester United said no. And in particular, Amad Diallo. After he blocked the ball from a resulting corner kick that was given to Liverpool, he raced clear with Garnacho. Garnacho was able to spot him over on his left-hand side. Amad Diallo, with one feint of the shoulder, was able to move past Connor Bradley, who was unable to tackle him in time, and a nice deft finish to the left-hand side of Kelleher ensured that Manchester United were going to prevent Jurgen Klopp from going to Wembley yet again. So in the mean, it's a very small victory for Manchester United because we all know that Manchester City are still in this, and Chelsea, who have had an up and down season, can cause trouble to anybody when it goes to Wembley. I know their record at Wembley right now is not good, but they won't have to face Liverpool, so that's a plus for Chelsea. But at the same time, Manchester United might not end up winning this FA Cup. But in this small victory, they prevented Jurgen Klopp from getting another trophy. And in that small victory, it also gives them the confidence that they might be able to take on Manchester City if they face them again in a more neutral territory. Because when they went to the Etihad, It was backs against the wall stuff. They were definitely pinned all the way to the back. They didn't have many opportunities. They took advantage of the few that they had, which was one that was converted by Rashford, that rasping shot that just flew past Ederson. But other than that, this gives Manchester United a chance at redemption. Now, last season, they weren't able to prevent Manchester City from taking that treble in the FA Cup. And it looks as though the path is clear for them to face each other again in the FA Cup final. And maybe this go around, Manchester United might be able to prevent their more recently successful rivals from getting yet another trophy. Now, whether Ten Hag is going to be the man to steer Manchester United into the future, I don't know, because he had this really weird thing when, despite taking the victory into his stride and starting to talk about the process that he's going to try and do with Manchester United and how he's going to maybe entrust some of the younger players to getting into the first team, he went on this weird spiel when he started talking about how the game at the Emirates against Arsenal was not a deserved victory for Arsenal, which I get it. It was a little contentious towards the end. But instead of him maybe applying more better management towards the players that he has at his disposal right now and rewarding the performance that they gave him the other day, I think he would be better suited to try and talk about what his team were able to do in this game against Liverpool. A lot of the best managers, such as Jurgen Klopp and Pep Guardiola, and even Mikel Arteta more recently, tend to just look and view the game into the future. Harking back to a game against Arsenal that you lost at the Emirates a few months back is not going to help motivate your team as it is right now to win a game against Coventry, which they definitely should take that game in the next round, but it's not going to help you beat Manchester City in the future. What you have to do is concentrate on the teams that you're facing in the here and now. So that I found to be a little bit weird, but at the end of the day, some of his choices were vindicated on the day, like bringing on Antony. And I know Manchester United don't really have much in the way of substitutes who can come in and impact the game. But Antony showed up, and Harry Maguire, when he came in, he also defended valiantly, and he also had an opportunity to score from Manchester United, a nice shot that was saved by Kelleher. So at the end of the day, Manchester United is in that weird phase where they are somewhat of a cup team, just like Chelsea are. They are not really strong enough to challenge for a Premier League title, but eventually, if they do get their ducks in a row, they might be able to challenge at some point. I don't think it's going to be anytime soon because they have to sort out their midfield. They have to sort out their defense. They have to sort out their striking options. At the end of the day, Ten Hag would probably be better suited to trying to tackle most of his more pertinent problems rather than to try and talk about games that happened in the past. His side has just given him one of the best performances of the season in taking down a Liverpool side that was very, very rampant against Manchester City. And so that should have been the positive that he was drawing upon. But at the end of the day, Manchester United are a good side. They do have some very good players on their day who can turn it on, as they did against Liverpool at Old Trafford. Now, we all know Manchester United are going to have a very big say in where the Premier League title is going to go because they've already lost twice to Manchester City this season, but they still face Liverpool at Old Trafford and they also face Arsenal at the same venue. So Manchester United are going to have a hand in this title and where it goes. I do think in Amad Diallo and Kobe Mainoo, they have some players in which they can try and build a nice new nucleus for where they can try and focus most of their attention to, rather than buying all of these really expensive names from Real Madrid and from Bayern Munich that they've tried to do in recent past. They might be better suited to trying to utilize what they have at their disposal right now. But anyway, guys, this was a fantastic game. It was really nice to watch. Let me know what you think about it in the comments down below. It's been your boy Izzy, and as always, until the next time, peace.